I was almost 9 years old. And as I said many, many times, having had terrible asthma, my parents took me to the movies all the time. My father took me to see this film. He'd take me to see westerns and war films and musicals, but sometimes take me to the masterpieces. I don't know how, a guy who was working in the garment district for 40 years picked up on The River, to go see this thing. It turned out to be one of the most formative movie experiences. And I know I say that about a number of films, but this was something different and special, particularly the use of color. There's no doubt about that. I would say this and The Red Shoes are the two most beautiful color films ever made. But I think something else happened when I saw that picture. It was the first exposure to a very foreign culture. I mean, I was exposed to Italian culture, of course, but with different Italian Americans, Sicilian Americans, Sicilians, and having seen Italian neorealism on film. But this picture was different. It looked like no other movie I'd ever seen. It was the first color film to be shot in India, and it turns to be the first Technicolor film, first use of color by Renoir himself. I didn't know the name Renoir at the time. My family were not educated, and so I didn't know Renoir. But I was 9 years old, and I was coming out of third grade, I think, in parochial school, St. Patrick's Elementary School. And I remember vividly in third grade seeing paintings for the first time in little postcards. And there was symbolic paintings, and there was Van Gogh's Starry Night. And a couple of them were these beautiful little girls and women on a picnic wearing beautiful dresses from the late 19th century France. Very, very rich and intense, embracing of the subject matter by the painter. And I saw the name was Renoir. I don't know if I had made that connection when I saw the movie, but it was around the same time, And then later I went to museums and actually saw his paintings, the father's paintings. But I think the color in the film affected me strongly, and no doubt the nature of the culture that it was depicting, albeit through Western eyes. It was very important. I think Renoir wrote in his biography, he said that the Indians felt that it was better for Westerners to make a film about India through Western eyes because they didn't think that the Westerner could really understand the culture and know the problems, really understand the problems of the country, they felt. At times, people see the film today and they say, well, it's seen through colonialist eyes. Well, Ruma Godden, lived there. And whether it's colonialist eyes or not, it still has truth to what it is to be a human being. Primarily, it's the story of a young girl coming of age, but there's something much more universal about it. Especially if I'm a young boy coming out of Lower East Side at the age of 9 years old, seeing this and identifying with the movie and feeling for these people. I guess some people would say, well, I like the exotic, in culture. I happen to respond to that. But it's more than just the exotic because quickly you find out it's not just exoticism. There are problems. The people live a certain way, believe things differently. So at first, if the gold and the glitter and the color gets you, it's still the real power is the humanity in the film, the humanity of the culture, what it is to be Hindu and to see life a different way. I don't know if the film shows that, but it makes you interested in that. I think it made me interested. So I had never been exposed to this sort of thing, particularly a film of this kind where, like the river itself, the Ganges River, the picture just flows. The story just drops you into the middle of a life at the point at which he's coming of age, where it's wonderful to be alive and also terrible things happen to young kids at the age of 12, 13, 14, that terrible time. It's a beautiful time, but it's a terrible time. They go through a lot of trouble, a lot of difficulties coping. And you feel this in this picture unlike any other, I think. I felt I was living with these people and that I had seen something very special because it was very different from traditional storytelling. The authenticity was beyond anything I had seen. I mean, I'd seen other films shot in India, let's say, or parts of it shot in India. I was used to watching Elephant Boy and other films by Robert Flaherty that were shown on television in the late 40s, early 50s, so that when I saw the opening shots of the river with the boats going down the river and the man working in the nets, and you hear that music, the voices singing, there was a familiarity to the technique, which had to do, I think, with intercutting documentary footage with dramatic footage, stage footage. And what made this one even more special was the use of Technicolor. Renoir felt that for landscapes in Technicolor, it was important to avoid subtle colors. He said because they become muddy or murky. And so the vegetation in the tropical vegetation was perfect for Technicolor because the colors were very strong. So I mean, the color was, his first use of color was very, very important as a character in the movie. There's no doubt he's the son of the Impressionist painter. I think you could see it in this film, especially the landscapes, and the way he frames trees at certain points, or when all the girls sort of follow each other and hide behind the bushes to watch who's going to get the first kiss from Captain John. It reminds me of one of his father's paintings. Little girls sleeping together. Apparently he took hours to arrange the legs the right way, and it looks like right out of the paintings of his father's work. So, you know.
This is my daughter, Mary.
You also notice that there's a strangeness in a way, kind of an odd approach to the acting. It's different from other pictures. And bottom line is that many of them are non-actors. You have Esmond Knight, you have Arthur Shields, and you have Nora Swinburne, you have some other actors. Adriana Corey plays Valerie. You had actors in it, but they all seem to blend with these other people who seem a little awkward at times, but ultimately the actors sort of fit in with the non-actors, sort of balanced. For example, Thomas Breen, who plays the soldier who had lost a leg in World War II. He's very interesting because you could tell it's a non-actor, but he really lost a leg. And for what you may be feeling a little uneasy about in terms of delivery or lines and that sort of thing, and then one gets past it right away because you know it's real. What he's feeling, the conflicts, the emotions that he's feeling, it's